Hey guys, Phil Baumhart here. So for today's video, I've got a lawnmower blade. I want to see if I can make a knife out of it. So it's got these holes in the center here, so my plan here is to basically chisel that off, and I'll kind of make it pre-form for like a Bowie knife. And then this here that's kind of curved over, so I'll flatten that out, and this in here will be the tang, and the rest will be the blade. So it should be kind of a short, stubby little Bowie. We'll see what I can get out of it. So I'll get this in the forge, and then we'll chisel that down. Okay, so I let that go a little too long. That started to melt. Definitely not ideal. We'll try it again with this piece here. Okay, so you can see that that's the this is going to be the spine of the knife, and so the handle needs to butt up to about there. So right about here is where the handle will end. So I'm kind of trying to hammer in a little bit of a divot, a bit of a ricasso there, while still making sure I have enough of the tang that it's not going to be a full tang, but the tang is going to be sufficient enough to back up the size and weight of the knife. So once I finish up the tang, then I'll do the hammering on here and give it that kind of clip point. Well, that's probably about what the shape is going to look like. It's kind of a weird Bowie cleaver apocalypse dwarf knife, but I don't hate it. So I think I'll do another heat or so just to make sure everything's all straight, and then I'll anneal it. Okay, so here's what the knife looks like after it's been annealed, and I cleaned it up a little bit with the wire wheel. I kind of defined this ricasso area with my half-round file, so there's the spine of the knife, so the handle will go right about here, so you'll have a nice big finger choil area, and then this divot, or dent, from the lawnmower blade. This is an existing form in the lawnmower blade. That actually kind of gives you a nice place to put your hand for choking up on the blade. A little bit of a sweep from the hammering the edge. Not as big of a Bowie pattern as I was originally thinking, but it's kind of a nice cleaver kind of size, and the hole there, the half of the hole remaining from cutting the blade down, I imagine that as like a camp or bushcraft knife. You could use that for picking a hot pot handle off of the fire or something like that. kind of a hook there. So I still might put a little bit of a back cut on this area, but this would be a good kind of camp kitchen knife, or probably a wood processing knife as well, because the weight, you could do some chopping and all that. So I think it'll be a decent kind of camp bushcraft knife. Something a little bit different than what I usually do, which is kind of historic based knives. This one's going to be a little bit more of just sort of a original design. Maybe something that you can come up with if the zombie apocalypse kicks off or something like that. This is so kind of a zombie survival knife maybe. But let's start grinding it and see what we get. Okay, so I'll check the straightness and do a file test. Okay, so it's a little warped. It kind of bends this way. Doesn't matter if you can see it, only knows that I can see it. So I'm gonna get this hot straightened back out again, and we gotta quench it again. Okay, so basically I've got the pins hidden right now, so now I can work the handle evenly and how it'll be fit onto the blade. So I'll be able to keep everything neat and even and kind of just keep it true as I go. Okay, so here's the handle after the glue is dry, so you can see it's pretty messy, and I got the handle pins are sticking up because I cut them deliberately long. So we're just giving a nice sand over, clean up all the glue, and then the pins will be nice and flush with the rest of the handle. After that, put a coat of stain on there, and once that's dried, I'll sharpen it up, and that'll be about it for this knife. Okay, so the handle's all dry. I put a coat of linseed oil on there and let that dry. So now we're just going to put the final edge on there. And since I got a variable control on the work sharp grinder here, I like to use this for putting the final edge on my knives. Because a big Kalamazoo grinder is great, but I can't control the speed, so it'll just eat up something like this trying to put an edge on there. I just make sure I got a burr going, and then I can switch to the next belt. Okay, here's what the finished knife looks like. Kind of a fun build. So a lawnmower blade is obviously not something that you're gonna want to set out and make a knife out of just because it makes a good knife, but it was a fun product to do, and I like the way this knife turned out. Kind of interesting proportions, interesting design. It was fun to do something that I wasn't trying to base off of a historical references. It was nice just to be able to kind of be creative and do what I wanted to do. So neat little recurve at the base of the blade there, so that'll be good for doing fine whittling, carving tasks. I sharpened up this kind of false edge here on both of them, just making a big chisel point, so you can kind of use that for like some scraping kind of thing. Got some file work on the spine there to be like jimping, so and that little groove in there is smooth, so you can really choke up like that. Handle isn't too big, but with that shape, it's kind of like a machete or a bolo knife, so it's really got a good chopping feel because it's got a lot of weight at the end of the knife, but it's not overly heavy because, as you can see, it's fairly thin. So it's very handy. Like you can manipulate it in your hand really well. So just kind of a fun concept of, if it's the apocalypse and you want to make a knife, what kind of steel are you going to have laying around? You might have a lawnmower blade, so this is your lawnmower blade survival knife. So I'm sure you could find a spot on here somewhere to strike sparks off of a ferro rod. So you got your fire starting capability right there. It's big enough to baton with. It's got enough heft to chop with, and because of the nibbleness and the slashing power, I'm sure you could use this to kill a few zombies. Okay, we'll do a quick little paper test after chopping up that birch. Birch logs aren't, the toughest wood, but it wasn't rotten by any means or anything like that. So here's that same Midway USA catalog. So not as sharp as it was, but the edge didn't just crumble. Alright, so not the worst steel, certainly not the best, but what do you expect from a lawnmower blade? But hope you guys enjoyed the video. Thanks for watching, and until next time, be more Viking.